Masters of the Universe has been one of the most recognizable fantasy franchises in pop culture. It started as a toy line and quickly became a global animated phenomenon, introducing audiences to the world of Eternia, where magic, technology, and ancient power collide. At the center of it all stands He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe, who transforms from Prince Adam into a warrior chosen to defend his kingdom from dark forces. Opposing him is Skeletor, one of the most iconic villains in animation history, driven by a constant hunger for power and control over Castle Grayskull. The new official teaser brings this legendary world back into the spotlight after many years of silence and uncertainty around the franchise's future. What makes this moment important is not just the return of familiar characters, but the way the story is being reintroduced to a modern audience. The teaser does not rely only on nostalgia. Instead, it builds a mood that feels heavier, more cinematic, and more grounded in emotional conflict. Even in short glimpses, it suggests that this version of Eternia is not just about colorful battles, but about a deeper struggle between destiny, fear, and responsibility. One of the key ideas behind this return is how the story is being reshaped for today's viewers. Modern fantasy audiences have changed. They now expect stronger storytelling, emotional depth, and visually realistic worlds. This reboot appears to be aiming for exactly that balance. While the core identity of He-Man remains the same, a hero chosen by fate, the tone suggests that becoming a hero may come with greater personal cost than ever before. This creates curiosity about how Prince Adam will handle the pressure of his destiny and what sacrifices he may have to make. Another important element is how the teaser builds mystery instead of revealing everything. It gives only small hints of the world, the conflict, and the characters, leaving viewers with questions rather than answers. This approach is often used in modern blockbuster marketing to build anticipation. We see fragments of battles, flashes of power, and glimpses of familiar symbols, but nothing fully explained. This makes the return of Masters of the Universe feel like the beginning of a much larger story, rather than just a simple reboot. Most importantly, this comeback represents more than just another fantasy film attempt. It represents a test, whether a classic 80s icon can successfully survive in today's entertainment world. With so many reboots failing to connect with audiences, expectations are high but also uncertain. Fans are watching closely to see if this new version respects the original spirit while still offering something fresh and meaningful. The teaser's biggest impact is not what it shows, but what it promises. It promises a return to a world many grew up with, but through a lens that feels more intense, more emotional, and more cinematic than ever before. And that alone is enough to make this one of the most talked-about fantasy revivals in recent memory. To understand why this new Masters of the Universe teaser is getting so much attention, you have to go back to where it all started. This franchise is not just another fantasy story. It is a major part of 1980s pop culture history. It began as a toy line from Mattel and quickly expanded into an animated series that became a global hit. Children around the world grew up watching He-Man transform by raising his sword and saying the iconic words, "By the power of Grayskull." That moment alone became one of the most recognizable transformations in animation history. At its core, the story of Masters of the Universe is simple but powerful. It takes place in the magical world of Eternia, a land filled with ancient castles, strange creatures, and powerful technology mixed with sorcery. The central conflict is between good and evil. On one side stands He-Man, also known as Prince Adam, a hero chosen to protect his kingdom. On the other side stands Skeletor, a dark sorcerer with a skull-like face, constantly trying to take control of Castle Grayskull, a source of immense power. What made the original series so popular was not just the action, but the clear emotional battle between heroes and villains. It was easy to understand, yet full of imagination. Characters were colorful, each with unique powers and personalities. From Teela to Man-at-Arms, from Beast-Man to Evil Lyn, the universe felt large even in its simple animated form. For many fans, it was their first introduction to fantasy worlds filled with magic swords, ancient prophecies, and epic battles. Over the years, Hollywood has tried several times to bring Masters of the Universe into live-action success. The most famous attempt was the 1987 movie starring Dolph Lundgren as He-Man. While it has gained a cult following today, at the time it failed to impress critics and did not perform strongly at the box office. After that, many projects were announced but never fully realized, often stuck in development for years. This long history of failed attempts is one of the reasons why fans are both excited and cautious about every new announcement. Despite these setbacks, the franchise has never truly disappeared. It has continued through comic books, rebooted animated series, and modern toy releases. Each version tried to bring something new while still honoring the original spirit. This ongoing presence proves that Masters of the Universe still has a strong fan base across generations. Parents who grew up with He-Man now share it with their children, keeping the legacy alive. This is why the new teaser matters so much. It is not just reviving a forgotten story. It is trying to reintroduce a cultural icon to a completely new generation of viewers who may have never seen the original series. At the same time, it must satisfy long-time fans who have been waiting decades for a proper live-action or high-quality adaptation. That balance is extremely difficult to achieve. Stay too close to the original, and it may feel outdated. Change too much, and it risks losing the heart of what made it special. This is the challenge every reboot faces, but for Masters of the Universe, the pressure is even higher because of its legendary status. In many ways, this franchise is not just about He-Man or Skeletor anymore. It is about whether classic fantasy storytelling can still survive in a modern film industry dominated by massive cinematic universes and high-budget franchises. And that is exactly why this teaser is being watched so closely by fans and critics around the world. The official teaser for Masters of the Universe does not try to explain everything at once. Instead, it builds tension through short, powerful visuals that slowly introduce the world of Eternia in a modern cinematic style. From the very first moments, the tone feels serious and heavy. The bright, cartoon-like feeling of older versions is replaced with darker environments, deep shadows, and a stronger sense of danger. It is clear that this version is aiming for a more realistic fantasy experience. One of the first things noticeable in the teaser is the way the world itself is shown. We see vast landscapes, ancient structures, and mysterious energy sources that hint at the magical nature of Eternia. Castle Grayskull appears as a powerful and almost intimidating presence, not just a background location. It feels like a living symbol of power that both heroes and villains are desperate to control. This immediately raises the stakes of the story without needing any dialogue. The teaser also gives brief but impactful glimpses of the main characters. He-Man is shown in a way that emphasizes strength and destiny rather than just physical power. Even in short shots, his presence feels grounded and serious, suggesting that this version of Prince Adam may carry a deeper emotional struggle before fully becoming the hero fans know. Skeletor, on the other hand, is presented with a darker and more threatening energy. His appearance is more intense, and his presence in the teaser creates an immediate sense of fear and conflict. Supporting characters are only briefly teased, but their inclusion is important. Figures like Teela and others appear in quick moments, hinting at a larger team dynamic that will play a role in the story. These small glimpses are enough to suggest that this will not be a one-character story, but a full ensemble adventure with multiple perspectives and emotional layers. The action shown in the teaser is fast, intense, and carefully edited. Instead of full battle sequences, we get fragments, clashes of swords, flashes of magical energy, and brief moments of destruction. This style of editing is designed to build curiosity rather than reveal full scenes. It gives the feeling that something massive is coming, but it is still being kept hidden from the audience. This is a common technique used in modern trailers to keep viewers engaged and talking about what they saw. Visually, the CGI and production design aim for a balance between fantasy and realism. The armor, weapons, and environments all feel more grounded than previous versions. At the same time, the magical elements are still present, keeping the identity of the franchise alive. This combination suggests that the filmmakers are trying to modernize Masters of the Universe without losing its core identity. The music and sound design in the teaser also play a major role in setting the tone. Instead of playful or light background themes, the audio feels dramatic and intense, building a sense of urgency. Every sound effect, from the clash of metal to the rising energy bursts, adds weight to the visuals, making the world feel larger and more dangerous. Overall, the teaser does not answer many questions. Instead, it carefully builds them. Who will truly rise as the protector of Eternia? How powerful will Skeletor become in this version? And what sacrifices will be required for He-Man to fulfill his destiny? These unanswered questions are exactly what make the teaser effective, because they leave the audience wanting more and waiting for the full reveal. One of the biggest changes visible in this new Masters of the Universe teaser is the shift in tone. Earlier versions of the franchise, especially the original animated series, had a bright and colorful style that felt more like a classic Saturday morning adventure. Good and evil were clearly defined, and the world of Eternia, while exciting, often felt light and simple in its storytelling. This new version moves in a very different direction. It feels darker, more serious, and more emotionally grounded. This shift is not random. Modern fantasy films and series have changed how audiences experience these kinds of stories. Today's viewers are more used to complex worlds where heroes struggle with identity, fear, and responsibility. You can see this trend in many successful fantasy and sci-fi projects that focus not just on battles, but on the emotional weight behind them. The new Masters of the Universe seems to follow this same path, aiming to make He-Man's journey feel more human and less like a simple heroic transformation. Eternia itself is also presented in a more serious light. Instead of a purely colorful fantasy world, it now appears as a place filled with danger, political tension, and ancient power struggles. Castles look more like real fortresses, battlefields feel more grounded, and even magical elements are shown with a sense of unpredictability. This makes the world feel less like a cartoon setting and more like a fully developed cinematic universe. This darker direction also changes how characters are likely to be understood. He-Man is no longer just a powerful hero who easily defeats evil. In this version, he may be someone who carries doubt, pressure, and emotional conflict before fully accepting his destiny. Prince Adam's transformation into He-Man could feel more meaningful because it may come with sacrifice rather than just power. This kind of storytelling gives more depth to the character and makes his journey more relatable to modern audiences. Skeletor's presence also benefits from this tonal shift. In earlier versions, he was often seen as a straightforward villain with a clear goal of power. In a darker adaptation, his motivations could be explored in more detail, making him feel less like a simple antagonist and more like a real threat with his own logic and purpose. This kind of layered villain often creates a stronger and more engaging conflict. The direction of the teaser also suggests that the filmmakers are aiming for a cinematic style similar to modern epic fantasy films. The focus seems to be on scale, atmosphere, and emotional weight rather than simple action scenes. Long shadows, dramatic lighting, and intense background music all contribute to a feeling that something larger is unfolding in this world. Every visual detail seems designed to remind the audience that this is not just a nostalgic return, but a full-scale reimagining. However, this change in tone also comes with risk. Longtime fans of the original series may feel that the charm and simplicity of the classic version is being lost. The bright energy, fun character designs, and straightforward storytelling were a big part of what made the original so beloved. Moving too far into darkness could create a gap between old fans and new viewers if not balanced carefully. Still, if handled properly, this darker approach could give Masters of the Universe a new identity that fits today's entertainment landscape. It has the potential to stand alongside other major fantasy franchises by offering a mix of emotional storytelling, large-scale world-building, and intense character development. The teaser suggests that this is exactly the direction the creators are aiming for, but the real test will come when the full story is revealed.